I'm ready to get this over with.
Nah.
To get it over with.
No, there's so much good to talk about, Price.
No, there's not.
On
You won't
today's
be hearing anything from me.
All right, well, we'll force that of you no matter what. On today's episode of Epic Movie Podcast, we're talking about Brick. You can never tell by the background right there.
Brick.
Brick
everywhere.
Guys. Make sure to tune in. Here's our intro part. Boom, 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 boom. Everybody.
Boom.
Anyway, we're back. Welcome to the show. I'm Dylan Camacho, your host as always. With me today is the Brick himself, Nathan Long. Also with us today, still from Iraq, is Mason Rector.
I love it.
Ever since Brothers, he's never gotten out of there.
He can't shake the stigma. He can't shake it.
No.
And also at a brand new studio, Price back, everybody.
Now I'm Pricey Poo. Don't you see my name down there?
No, it's back. And as I said in the beginning of the video, we're talking about Brick. It's Joseph Gordon-Levitt featuring other actors, which is the best way to describe any Joseph Gordon-Levitt movie, except for Inception.
I knew that'd be the only one.
Yeah, other than that. But guys, let's talk about Brick. So can somebody give me a summary on that? Nathan, you're usually pretty good at these things.
This is a movie that weirdly takes place in high school, even though it doesn't feel remotely appropriate or correct to be a high school story, because it is not, which is fascinating. It feels like a movie that was lifted out of the early 90s almost, because it's got like Donnie Darko vibes and all that kind of stuff. Like it feels like one of those movies. But you're basically following Joseph Gordon-Levitt as he is trying to figure out what has happened to his recent ex that he's still in love with. It opens with her dead body, so you kind of know what's going to have happened to her, but he's like on a path of vengeance through this whole thing, going down into the seedy underbelly of drug dealing in a high school.
Of 16-year-old kids.
Yeah. And not a one of them acts like they are high schoolers.
Or a real person. Or real people.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Like, as I started watching this movie, I was thinking immediately, like, okay, the way that they are talking makes me feel like this is a play or something. Like, it is. I immediately started Googling, trying to figure out, like, what is an extra layer to this that I need to understand, because I feel like there has to be one here. But I didn't really come up with a whole lot on that front. So
So I do. I think Nathan's right. This movie, I just told Price and Dylan yesterday, this seems older than it actually is. This is an 2005 movie. It seems like it was a 1995, and to your point, kind of like a play. I thought it was like a YouTube, special from, someone that just created. It looks like if you were to film something in high school, this is like a weird kind of conjuring of it. That's what I think. Like a film school entry is what I think this feels like.
I think we're missing the ball description here. Ball description, whatever. I'm gonna move on. So mainly the main genre description of this movie. This movie is like start to finish a neo-noir film. Like they want it to be like where Nathan said it's kind of like a 90s style shot, like high schoolers living these way more interesting adult lives than any adult has ever lived. They've got this all of the crimey underbelly stuff that they've attached through the perspective of teenagers in high school. If you take that perspective away, then this could be a black and white, dark alley, long trench coat, neo-noir movie start to finish.
Oh, yeah. This is a detective movie.
It is, yeah.
Which is so crazy.
Right. Done through a teen drama perspective, which, I don't know. I'm surprised that nobody Price is not on board with the teen drama thing attachment at all. And while it is an interesting concept to put it through, because you're essentially saying, okay, you have to buy that this all happens in teenager land, I'm like, it's a little weird, but I'm intrigued. And it was fun, and I don't know, for me anyway, it was fun enough to kind of keep me on the whole ride of the movie. I was with Nathan though. It did feel like there was supposed to be this whole layer or thing of something I should have known or watched beforehand, because they talk and say terms that are just they're never going to explain. It's just like street savvy, like street slang, and you're just either you know it, which you shouldn't because they never explain it. But it implies that there's just these other moving gears and cogs and people something. And while I like the idea that it helps build a world that's like clearly there's other bigger things at work and there are other things there. The fact that they just throw it all willy-nilly and don't try to explain almost any of it bothered me at times because I was just like, at times I'm like, I know I'm feeling lost and I know that they want me to feel lost, but they want me to know that there's a bigger world here and that's the point I need to hit. But for dialogue's sake, there are times where I'm just like, did that sentence make sense? Am I having a stroke right now when I'm watching this movie? Because I'm like, that sentence wasn't English, but I don't think I understand at all what they just said. Like, I don't know. That was a feeling I had at least a couple times throughout the film. I was just like, okay, I just got hit with a bunch of like street slang, and I'm just expected to be like, yes, and then move on with it.
To me, this movie was almost like, it felt like it was somebody's pet project of, they literally just were like, I want to make film noir and I want to set it in high school and just see what that looks like and how that plays out, because that's exactly all this is. And once I kind of let go of being like, this is far too weird, this doesn't make sense that they're doing this, and it's like, this is just some approach that they wanted to take with this movie just to see if it could be done. And I don't know, like on its own it's interesting and engaging, but
that's the thing. Like, as I was watching the movie, I knew you guys like, it's a teenage drama, you're on board with it, and it was making me mad the whole time watching it because I was thinking about you while I was watching it, and I was like, they hated pathology because they're like, oh, it's a kind of slippery slope that I don't believe this guy goes into it, so I'm writing off this whole movie. This movie, you all are like, yeah, there's a drug kingpin, and this guy hides his girlfriend's dead body because he doesn't want the police to get involved, and y'all are like, oh, I'm okay with that. I'm on board. I'm on board.
I think
pathology is a million times more believable than that. A million times more.
No. You're missing the point here. It's not so much that the
I'm not gonna compare this to pathology for one.
No, I am. Just that premise.
So that's where you're mixing the wires here, right? If you told me as a premise for pathology that doctors going around killing people for sport or something like that premise isn't what bothers me. It's the people in the movie that bother me because they're not viable or believable. And I know you're going to sit here and say, high school was no. High school is being in drugs and all of that stuff and having some of this stuff and exaggerating it. Now, you got to remember, here's the thing that kind of helped me meet the middle ground for the teen aspect of this, is that everything is exaggerative, but that's teen perspective. Like, if you ask a teenager to think about anything, they're going to say the worst day of their life was something that's not even close going to be to the worst day of their life. So everything, including the crime aspect and all of this, is from a teenager's perspective, and it's all from a bunch of teenagers' perspective. All of it's supposed to be seen grander and larger and more like way more bigger than it actually is. And I think that the movie plays fun with that whenever it shows like the main teen drug lord lives at his mom's house in the basement,
right? Cereal.
It's not this super huge thing. It's in reality, it's just like they're making it seem big because that's teenage perspective. But then you go into it, and then the reality is it's just a rando kind of crippled kid in his mom's basement. And I'm like, okay, that makes sense.
I just don't get why this movie gets a pass and pathology doesn't. That makes
my God.
No sense.
Well, I'm not going to explain it to somebody who watches and loves Foxcatcher, Price. Your IQ just isn't big.
Love Foxcatcher.
So I'm again with Nathan. He's reaching a lot of good points. So like, I turned my brain off pretty much immediately whenever this thing started. Whenever Joseph Gordon-Levitt was playing this like pacing back and forth like detective guy, like as soon as he started doing that, I was like, okay, this is not reality. This is a weird, I'm gonna get to the bottom of this. I'm gonna infiltrate from the very beginning kind of scheme. I love the way that this movie is like directed because it's so weird with its cut shots. The dialogue is one of my favorite parts of this movie. I loved all of those slang terms. Yes, it really is.
The dialogue is abysmal. Like the way they time the conversations and just the lines that they have are so silly. Like,
Well, that's delivery. I wouldn't put that
there's
in
no there's no
Yeah.
cadence. There's no cadence to how they talk. It's like when
It doesn't
we talk
have
to each
to have
other,
a cadence, though.
like I talk,
mean, it's,
you take a second to register it, then you respond. They don't take the second to respond. They just talk.
have you ever seen Gilmore Girls or
Okay.
anything like that? I mean, there's plenty of different like engines for that. I mean, there's so many different ways. Quentin Tarantino, let's talk about any dialogue he ever does in his movies. Like, there is no
And it's
cadence that you have
yes,
to
there
stand
is.
by.
That's the
No.
bar scene from Inglourious Bastards. Two people take time to like listen to the line, it internalize it, and then respond like they would in real life. Rather than this one's like, "Hey, I know my line, and I know what you're going to say, so I'm going to say it right after you."
Right.
Well,
There's no-
so this kind of brings me back to my point where I felt like this was almost a play
Mm.
in the way that people talked. Like that's exactly why I was getting that vibe where it was just everybody was saying their lines back and forth. Because yeah, there was no natural cadence. It wasn't real conversation. It was just like overly smart teenagers saying witty
Crazy
things
smart.
to each other.
Yeah,
Right.
crazily
You know-
smart.
Kind of like in
Yeah.
Brothers, you know that they're smart because they're playing with a Rubik's Cube. I mean, you know they're smart, and they toss it back and forth like they're best friends, and they know that like, oh, you'll finish the Rubik's Cube. I'm telling you, if Jory Gordon-Levitt got like $1 for every time he got to touch a Rubik's Cube in one of his movies,
I was gonna
You
point
would
that
have
out.
$2.
It'd be rich.
Exactly.
dude would be rich.
Yeah.
$2 hairs.
Mhm.
Disgusting.
So, I don't know. What's your qualms, Dylan or Nathan? Any? I mean, I know
Not
that
gonna ask
this is
me?
a lot. Go ahead. You keep going. Go ahead.
Yeah.
Oh, I'd love to. I have one more point, and that's basically
Okay.
like you're talking about the directing in it. I don't know who the director was, but apparently, like to do the sound effects, he just gave like a cup full of rocks to his toddler and just like let him shake it in the mic because apparently, like the only sound effects and like music they used was just rattling stones for some reason, and it was very grating on my ears to hear the entire movie. The same,
So,
like,
so the director,
Oh.
real quick, is Ryan Johnson, right?
Everybody's
He-
favorite Star
Really?
Wars director. Oh yeah.
He
this is
is.
one of his
Yeah, he has done Looper.
Wow.
He's done a few episodes of Breaking Bad, Star Wars Episode 8, and Knives Out.
Oh, hold on, real
Breaking
quick,
Bad.
real quick.
What?
Bryce, what's your favorite episode of Breaking Bad, or arguably the best one?
Ozymandias.
That's Ryan Johnson directed.
Ah,
Woo!
what does that matter?
Just a fun fact because I knew that it would just bother
That's
you.
everyone's favorite episode,
What
right?
is it like?
Because
even
you
a blind,
can't. I don't want to hear the excuse. Ryan Johnson's a bad director. Also, Ryan Johnson directs one of the best episodes of television.
Yeah,
By
but
direction
you can-
standards. I didn't
but
watch.
you can have like
Listen.
hits and misses.
All right, that's beside the point. So it's everybody's favorite Star Wars director. We all know and love Ryan Johnson. Anyway, so
He wrote the one that everybody forgot.
now everybody is very well aware of that movie. I wish they could forget it, but we're not talking Star Wars here today. We're talking Ryan Johnson, but that's not what we're doing. Anyway, so the sound effects one. Honestly, I don't know. I never feel like the sound effects were like ever blaring enough for me to sit there and be a huge point. I wouldn't say that if like now to your point, they're not extravagant. They never really felt like they pushed the movie over. I don't remember the score or any of the soundtrack or anything being super extra or impressive in this movie.
Mm-mm.
I feel like in my head, if I like think back on the movie, it sounds neo-noir to movie, but that could just be the genre doing its work and then me imagining the soundtrack to the tune or something, or to the like scenes. I don't know. But yeah, none of the sounds were particularly impressive in this film. But it was never enough for me to sit there and say, oh, I'm so annoyed by this rattling noise or something like that. So I don't know. That's just you, Price, being on that wagon where it's just like, oh, I heard the noise. I hate it.
So
Yeah.
that's another thing too. Is like this movie, it's very different. I mean, it's like from what I said earlier, this is like a first project on YouTube. Like you don't expect a whole lot, especially from the first 10 minutes. I am convinced that I should not like this movie, but for some reason, like the intrigue with the girl dying at the very beginning, I mean, it hooked me pretty well. You know what I mean? It's just things are working in this movie that probably shouldn't for me. But
And does it bother you all that he hid the body so the police wouldn't get involved? Does that
Honestly,
not seem completely asinine and
I didn't
juvenile?
know
No?
that he hid the body until like halfway through the movie, because I don't think you're supposed to know.
Right.
I mean, it showed him like picking her up.
Hacking her up, okay? Because it was when Tugger and the Pen and all of them were down there.
Right.
That was kind of the huge.
Oh, and that teenager gets his head blown in. That's a sweet moment. Suspending
Gotta
belief.
love Tugger.
Yeah.
Gotta love him.
So, yeah, like I'm with you though. I didn't think that he just had it like laying around. Like for me, I was like, oh, he went to go bury it or something like that. That makes sense for a dramatic teenager.
That's what I figured had happened
Right.
whenever you saw that brief scene of him picking her body up, and it didn't go any further than that. It just was him picking her up and then walking a couple of steps, and that's all it showed of it. So, to me, at the time, the implication was like, yeah, he just respectfully buries her or something.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
But,
I think overall. The only thing I remember sticking out that was kind of weird to me, that I was just like, I guess this happened at some point in one of his fights. But as he's like just super sick and passing out all the time, and like the tail end of the film, and then the girl's like, "Oh yeah, you're swallowing a lot of blood and stuff like that." I'm like, why though? I'm like, he got into a couple of fights overall, and I'm like, but if he's like punctured or like got internal bleeding, he probably needs to go to a hospital. Like,
Yeah.
And I'm wondering if that isn't just for that gritty stakes of saying that, like. This is
really was passionate.
Exactly. Like they just want him to be like to show like the full-on desperation of this character, even whenever he's on like his last leg, he's still doing all of this stuff. And I guess that's why they added it in there. But I don't really know where he got all this injuries from, unless he's just naturally got like a pre-existing health condition that they don't explain either.
I mean, I feel like he got his ass kicked a lot.
All the time.
Like he got knocked out for 30 minutes.
This dude was getting punched in every other scene.
Oh yeah. But it never felt enough for me where I was just like, should he have internal bleeding from that though? Like,
True. Yeah.
Maybe that was just me. That's one of my small, big narrative nuances with it, where I'm just like, I don't know where he's gotten this hole in his stomach all of a sudden, but he's bleeding all over the place on the inside because they want to keep his rating down. I guess I don't know. What was this PG-13 or R? That'd be.
Probably. No, actually, I would say PG-13.
I want to say PG-13. They do blast the kid's head in with a gun.
Yeah, but they don't really show it
super
clear.
Yeah, I'm curious. I don't know. While Mason's looking
it's R.
It's R?
Yeah,
okay.
That makes
sense. I was like, yeah, they show
there's a lot of illegal drug use being shown as well.
That probably puts it way over. Let's go into Fat Dick Perfectly Fit. How's that sound? All right.
Sure.
If you know the segment, guys, we're just saying how we feel about the length of the movie. Doesn't match the runtime. Did it feel like a bloated movie, or did it feel very nice and perfectly fit? Something that none of us are after quarantine. Bryce, go ahead and tell us how you feel, buddy.
It's fat. It's way too long. It's like an hour 50. It could easily have been an hour 20. I don't know why it's so long. It felt long. I was zoned out most of the movie. Definitely fat. So pass.
Mason.
I'll say it's a little bit chubby on certain points. When I'm trying to think, so you're kind of just along for this ride. He's just trying to get down to into this gang, right? He wanted to be the Penn's, confidant.
Mm-hmm.
I think that like the way that he approached some of that was a little bit hefty, and it seemed like it was, I don't know, a little bit too much at times. But other than that, I think it was pretty okay. Just a little bit chubby, I guess. This is just a different kind of whole approach for a movie, though. I don't know. I mean, maybe they nailed it. I don't know. I'm saying chubby.
Yeah.
I would say that, yeah, it probably is a little longer than it needs to be, but I don't know exactly what I would cut because, I mean, it kept me engaged through the whole thing. I found it pretty interesting. I can't really point to any part in particular that I was like, could have done without that. But it did last a while. I mean, it's almost 2 hours long, which is a pretty decent amount, but then again, I'm not generally that bothered by long movies.
It's true. It's almost a trademark of yours to be infallible to like these movies will never bother me. The longer that is, the more content I am with it.
The better.
Yeah.
Excalibur.
Give me more.
Yeah.
Yeah, this movie's a little bit chubby. I'll say some parts in the end, I don't know where, but definitely in the last 20-25% of the film, I remember distinctly thinking that this part felt padded. or just was dragging on longer than it should. Like, it should have hit some more conclusive beats and been a little bit more concise. Everything before then, I didn't feel any problem with the pacing. I felt engaged, and I was, intrigued enough to stay attentive throughout all that part. But yeah, right around the last 20-25%, I remember thinking, like, this movie should have wrapped up a little bit ago. Like, they should have hit a conclusion and then, like, the full-on explanation to say what all the stuff that happened. And they got there, but it did feel like it just kind of dragged a little bit towards the end. So, yeah, I'm not sure which scenes in specific I would cut, but something in the last parts of it. It felt like it just took too long to deliver the ending stuff that they needed to.
Well, we ready to discuss our scores?
Mm-hmm.
I can go ahead and start.
Sure.
So whenever I got to terms with the fact that this is basically just somebody's attempt to mash genres together, and that everything about this was just sticking film noir in high school teen drama, like the vice principal basically being like the cop director kind of person, and the way they were talking and everything, like everything about this just screams genre mashup. And I like that. I think that's a very fun thing to do. And I think they did it well. But the issue with doing something like this is, like, your audience has to understand what it is you're trying to do to actually enjoy what you're doing.
Mm-hmm.
So that's going to put some points against it. I would rate this a little higher, but I think I'm going to just end up sitting at like a 6.5 with it, just for the fact that there's a lot of extraneous considerations I need to make to enjoy it in the way that I did, which I did enjoy it fairly well, but I don't think that's fair to give it a higher score just because it was trying to do something
different and crazy.
I gotta consider what the movie was itself, and the movie was pretty weird. Like, it's a pretty weird thing if you don't understand film noir beforehand.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Dylan, would you like to go?
Yeah, I'll take it from here. I'm gonna go a little bit higher than Nathan, so I'm gonna go on a 7.5 on this movie. I think Nathan makes some valid points on, you have to kind of have an idea of what you're getting into with this. Otherwise, you're going to be just blindsided and be like, what in the world is this high school? Like, this isn't High School Musical. What am I watching?
Yeah.
There's a certain suspension of belief, and I think this is a movie that gets better the more that you view different genres. Noir films, I mean, I didn't grow up in noir films. I didn't grow up in the 20s or 30s. It wasn't our bread and butter for, like, our generation. But, like, the couple that I've seen and then seeing this do this interesting twist on it, I like the concept. Like, kind of what you said, Nathan. It's intentionally a genre match. It almost feels like some directors got together and then they just have, like, a genre wheel. And they're like, we're going to spin it twice. And then whatever those two genres are, you got to make a movie out. Yep. And I don't know if that's actually what happened, but it's an interesting concept to kind of see, like, take this there and do that. And I thought execution was all well enough, and it was intriguing and good. But again, while watching the movie, there were just times where I'm like, they're saying a bunch of words that I don't know what in the world they are talking about right now. And yeah, some of the what am I looking for? Delivery of the lines. Price made the point of saying it doesn't feel organic in the way that they talk, and you mentioned it kind of feeling more playish or something like that. It does kind of have a tone of Shakespearean drama to it, right? There's, like, a dead girl, it's the romantic loves, it's the failed trump, like, that has that undertone to all of that as well. So I think all of that sounds great. And I think the writing does a lot to build the world around it, but when you're watching the film and hearing the lines delivered, it's disengaging to just be feeling like you're so lost for chunks of part of the movie as they're having important conversations. And I'm like, I feel like I should be following, but I'm really not. Like, so that part was kind of discouraging for me. I felt as though if I was more if they gave me a little bit more knowledge, if they shifted some time and made it more like, okay, I follow what these terms are and what these meanings are. Kind of like if they made it something like Snatch, Snatch had, like, they had its own dialogue, but it showed it, like, it, and I hate to do that, show more thing, because I don't always think that's the best direction to take stuff, especially for mystery films. But it helps a lot to sit here and say, okay, when they're talking about this, they're talking about this thing. Like, it helps to have something connection there. When there's nothing connected, it's really hard to feel engaged in the story because it's just mystery element. So that's my biggest qualms with it. I think that's exhausting from being a higher ranked movie, but 7.5 feels about right for me.
I gotcha.
Mason, you
Bryce, go ahead. You want me to?
I'm last. I'm last.
Okay. I like this. So again, I feel like I've just been meandering a lot. Like, I don't know why I like this movie, and it's so true. Like, I don't know why I'm so intrigued by this movie. I remember watching it the first time, and I was like, what the hell was that? But I really do like it. I love the ending, the big reveal with the girl, and he's like, they're on the football field and everything.
Yeah.
Well, probably my favorite part of the whole movie, and it's so cheesy. He went to that convenience store or whatever it was, like the back of the fast food restaurant, whatever, and he saw those junkies back there, and he just punched that dude, and then he looked at his friends, and he's like, I slept last night, so I've got more sense than all of you, or something crazy.
I've got 5 more senses than you right now. Like,
he said, like, I have all 5 senses and I slept last night, so I'm like 6 steps ahead of you or something like that.
Yeah. It's, oh gosh, it's just, I can go on and on. Also, this movie, Dylan, I think the reason why you liked it so much, maybe, is because it's got the girl from Remember Me on it, Emily DeRevin or whatever.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah.
She survives again. Wait, oh no.
Wait.
Oops.
Yeah, so anyways, with all that being said, I give it an 8. I don't know. I don't know why it works. It just works for me. And it's so intriguing, and that's all I got for it. I don't know. That's all.
Yeah.
Now it's my turn. So you all thought, like, no, you'll see. I got the button just so I could do this. I'm telling you, this movie did nothing for me. Nothing. So first of all, the mishmashing of the genres, I don't like it. I don't think it does either of them well. And the fact that, like, it's a teen drama on top of it, which I already don't like, doesn't do it any favors whatsoever. I didn't believe anything that any of the main characters were doing. I didn't like the dialogue in any way, shape, or form. Nobody talks like that. There's no setting like this. The fact that they have, like, these kids acting like intimidating people, they're not. They're children. Like, it even has that kind of levity scene where, like, they eat breakfast cereal or whatever at that one guy's house. Like, yeah, they're kids. They're kids. And the fact that, like, Joseph Gordon-Levitt's like, I'm going to figure out what happened to her, not using anybody else, is so asinine that I can't even believe it. I had my phone out the entire movie. Like, I got it out. I actually got my phone out, was playing games on my phone. During the scene where they had that girl singing on the piano, like she's some kind of, like,
towards the beginning,
like,
the party scene.
Singer, the party scene.
Yeah.
I was like, I'm done. I'm done with this.
Yeah, I feel like that's more noir.
And I don't like
paying
it.
homage to noir.
I don't like noir, and I definitely hate teenage drama, which this movie is both of those. And it goes on too long. It's almost 2 hours long of just grating on my senses the entire time, and they kept throwing out names and words I don't understand, and I'm not invested enough in this movie to even give a shit. So I am giving this possibly one of my lowest scores at a 1.5. I detested this movie with every fiber of my being. I mean, this movie wasn't for me. Mason picked it and looked at me and was like, "You're not gonna like it." He was on the money.
Yeah.
I just can't say
being right about it. So
I just can't say enough of how the dialogue is what got me the most. Like, I hated how they talked. It was just like the way, like, I don't like it when a director seems like they're like you should be on board with this, like you should like this, and I didn't at all. I did not like how they talked.
Think of it as like if you watch, I don't know, The Sopranos or Boardwalk Empire.
I've watched The Sopranos.
All of those
like
gang affiliated things where these Italian people or these South Jersey people are talking, like, you're not really supposed to completely understand them all. You're just kind of going along with it and hoping that something sticks.
But it sounds like people are actually having a conversation rather than two actors reciting line after line at each other. That's why, like, Quentin Tarantino's movies, like Inglourious Bastards, the bar scene is like one of my favorite scenes of all time because that dialogue is so rich and feels so real that, like, I get pulled into it. Like, this could be a real setting.
I wonder what the budget was for Inglourious Bastards versus Brick. Or the star power.
The budget has nothing to do with how they talk and how the director directs it.
I'm just glad that you have compared this movie to Pathology, and Inglourious Basterds. 2 thumbs up from Price Bell.
Oh no, it's 2 thumbs way down. 1.5, 1.5. Yeah.
I will apologize on your behalf, or just directly to
It's
you.
one-
I knew.
It's
I
one-
just.
it's
I
one of
wanted
those
it.
movies.
I wanted
Yeah.
it.
Hey, maybe them two would like it, which is fine.
Who knows?
I'm wondering, Nathan, at some point, can we just get a grouping of all of the teen drama scores that Price has had and just see if any of them crosses over a 5? Like,
I don't think
mean-
any of them would.
Me, Earl and the Dying Girl is the closest teenage drama to where I was like, I can kind of see it because there are some parts that I liked, and then I just like I'm throwing this out the door. I'm too angry.
That was literally the first movie I ever picked, period.
It
And I
was.
feel like that was the threshold. That was like the bar, and everything has fallen just tanked below it for you. So
Teenage drama wise.
Well,
but
yeah,
it's not my
drama.
cup of tea.
yeah,
Not my cup of tea.
anyway, so, all right. Well, at least we're not watching another crime movie. Price, what are we watching next week?
yeah. Bryce, tell us what it
yeah.
is. It's got to be different, right?
I couldn't believe because like our rules are like two people have to have not seen the movie in order for us to pick it. And I pitched the movie Goodfellas to them, and I'm the only one that's seen it, and I am very surprised by that.
Yeah.
So
It's old.
this
It's old and
rotation,
it's Scorsese. If it's not animated, it's Scorsese with you recently. So
yeah, this rotation is very much like hitting our feelings into the ground. Like we're keeping you way down here with Honey Boy, Brick,
Yeah.
in this movie. Like
Yeah, we're really sorry about this month. We didn't think we needed a theme, but here we are.
here we are. Depression is our theme for this
Depression.
month.
Yeah.
I was thinking about doing a silent voice, the Kyoto Animations movie about the mute girl, but no, our feelings couldn't handle that movie, so
Mhm.
went with Goodfellas instead.
I might have to watch it instead anyway.
Yeah.
It's rough.
Yeah.
Yeah, super depressing.
Well, I
Nice.
guess it'll be Goodfellas for this one.
Yes, it will.
We'll see if I continue that trend too afterwards.
Ooh.
I've got a couple of ideas in mind, but they're not. I don't think I'm going to go quite so dark. Got some levity. in
Half a
here.
little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nathan's gonna give us like, I don't know, Land Before Time, but the one where the comet comes down and kills them all at the end.
Oh,
That might be number 4. Go in the comments below. Let us know which Land Before Time is your favorite. Also, if you think teen dramas work for you, mixed matching genres, what's your favorite mixed match genre film? I mean, there's a couple out there. Get some recommendations below. Let's see if we can get ones that Price like. If they have to have teen drama on it, double points.
I would like to see more movies like this. Like,
Yeah.
I think it's an interesting concept. Like, I mean, so many movies get made. Why not have more
Some weird
genre
ones.
mashups? You know,
Yeah.
like they don't all have to hit, but it's still a cool ride. So yeah.
Yeah. I agree.
Normally we do plugs, but we don't got plugs because we're all inside. So that's our show, everybody. Make sure to tune in next week when you're going to be watching us watch The Goodfellas. We'll already watch it by then, but we're talking about it. We're going to see if they're really good guys. If you think they're really good guys, let us know in the comments below already. Are they going to be doing a lot of? They're going to be helping elderly women across the street? Are they going to be packing in groceries for people? Are they making sure they're having their mask on and they're 6 feet apart? Find out next week on The Goodfellas.
On the good dudes.
Yeah, make sure to like that video if you liked all this little content and discussion and low scores for teen dramas. And subscribe to the channel, hit the bell whenever we upload. That's all you guys need to know about our videos for this week. We will see you next week with Goodfellas.
All right.
Goodbye.
Later.